What if everything you built, your success, your empire, your identity, was not truly yours? What if your greatest betrayal was secretly planned by someone you trusted the most? And what if the only person who ever believed in you was also the one hiding a truth that could destroy everything? Today's story will take you through a billionaire's rise from nothing, his shocking downfall, and a hidden sacrifice that will change the way you see love, success, and life forever. Stay with this till the end, because the final truth will hit harder than anything you expect. I still remember the smell of wet cardboard in the tiny room I called home. Rain leaked through the ceiling. Cold air touched my skin, while hunger twisted inside my stomach like an angry knot. At 22, I had failed twice in business. Friends laughed at me. My uncle called me useless. The woman I trusted with my savings vanished overnight, taking every dollar I had. I stood outside the bank, hand shaking, heart pounding, staring at numbers that said zero. I wanted to quit. Then I met Sophia. She worked nights at a quiet coffee shop that smelled of roasted beans and tired dreams. She noticed my silence. "You look like a man fighting a storm alone," she said softly. I laughed bitterly. "I already lost," I told her. She placed warm tea in front of me. "No," she whispered. "You only lose when your mind stops believing." Those words stayed with me. When I had no money, she shared her meals. When fear kept me awake, she sat beside me under flickering lights, helping me write business plans on old paper. She sold her necklace once to pay my rent. I cried when I found out. "No one sacrifices like this," I said. She smiled through tired eyes. "One day, you will help others breathe again." Years later, my company exploded with success. I became a billionaire. Luxury cars stood outside my house. People who mocked me began calling me brilliant, but success felt strangely empty. Until betrayal came again. My business partner, the man I trusted like a brother, stole millions and tried to destroy everything we built. I sat alone in my office, city lights glowing through the glass, hands trembling with fear. Then Sophia walked in quietly, holding something old in her hands. My first notebook, the one filled with impossible dreams. She looked at me and said, "You survived worse. Now ask yourself, who are you becoming in this pain?" I opened the notebook slowly, and what I saw on the final page made my heart stop. I stared at the final page. My breath slowed. My hands trembled. Written in faded ink were words I did not remember writing. "If life breaks you, become softer, not harder. Pain is a teacher, not a prison." Below it, in different handwriting, Sophia had written something years ago. "The world does not need another rich man. It needs a healed man who remembers pain." My chest tightened. Outside my office, the city glowed like stars trapped in glass. Yet inside me, everything felt dark. I had spent years building wealth, but somewhere along the road, I had become cold, busy, distant, even from Sophia. I looked at her tired face, the same gentle eyes that once watched me struggle under broken apartment lights, the same woman who skipped meals so I could dream one more day. And suddenly, I felt ashamed. "I forgot who I was," I whispered. She stepped closer. "No," she said softly. "You only forgot what made you strong." The next morning, I shocked everyone. Instead of fighting with anger, I gathered my team. Employees feared bankruptcy. Some were crying quietly. I remembered hunger, fear, humiliation. I stood before them and spoke from my heart. "If this company falls," I said, "we rise again together. No one loses their dignity here." Silence filled the room. Then something unexpected happened. People stayed. Some worked without pay for weeks. Old clients returned. One investor confessed. He only came back because he believed in my honesty. But the deepest surprise came that night. I arrived home early. The house smelled of warm soup and soft candle wax. Sophia stood quietly in the kitchen, holding a medical report. Her hand shook. Her eyes looked afraid. For the first time in years, I felt my heart sink. "What happened?" I asked. She looked at me as tears slowly filled her eyes. Then she whispered words that changed everything inside me. "I kept this from you," she whispered, her voice shaking like fragile glass. "I did not want to distract you. While everything was falling apart." My chest grew heavy. The room suddenly felt smaller. The warm smell of soup no longer felt comforting. Only fear remained. I stepped closer. "What is it?" I asked softly. She looked down at the report, then back at me. "The doctors found something serious," she said quietly. For a moment, the world stopped moving. I could hear the clock ticking, the distant sound of rain touching the windows. Even my breathing felt painful. "No," I whispered. Tears slipped from her eyes, but she still smiled gently. "You taught people how to dream," she said. "Now life is teaching us how to stay strong." That broke me. The woman who carried my broken soul was comforting me while carrying her own fear. I sat beside her. For the first time in years, money felt meaningless. Billionaire, successful, powerful, none of it mattered when the person who saved your life might be suffering in silence. That night, I did not sleep. I remembered every sacrifice she made. The nights she worked double shifts. The winter evenings, when she pretended she was full so I could eat the last meal. The necklace she sold without telling me. The dream she delayed to protect mine. And suddenly, I realized something painful. I had built empires, but forgotten to protect the heart that built me. The next morning, I canceled every meeting. Board members were furious. Investors demanded answers. But for once, I chose differently. I took Sophia to the ocean. Cold wind touched our faces. The sky looked endless. We sat quietly near the waves, holding warm coffee in trembling hands. Then she reached into her coat pocket and handed me a folded letter. "You were never supposed to see this," she whispered. I opened it slowly. At the top, in her soft handwriting, were words that made my heart pound. "If something happens to me, there is a truth about your success you never knew." My hands froze. The cold ocean wind suddenly felt sharper. Sophia looked away, watching the waves, as if they carried old memories. My fingers trembled while opening the letter. The paper smelled faintly of lavender perfume and thyme. I swallowed hard. Then I read the first sentence. "Years ago, when your second company failed, you believed luck saved you. That was never true." My heart pounded. I kept reading. "The investor who gave you your first real chance was not a stranger." I looked at Sophia quickly. Her eyes lowered. Confusion twisted inside me. "What does this mean?" I whispered. She took a slow breath. "When you lost everything," she said softly, "you were too broken to believe in yourself." The sound of crashing waves filled the silence between us. "So," she continued, I asked someone for help. I felt my chest tighten. No, I said quietly. She nodded with tears in her eyes. The investor who saved your dream, her voice cracked, was my father. I stood frozen. Her father, the billionaire businessman I once admired from a distance. The man who believed in my vision when nobody else would. No, I whispered again. You told me he hated me. He did, she admitted gently. He thought you were another poor dreamer. The wind moved through her hair, while sadness touched her face. But I begged him. I promised him that one day you would become the kind of man who remembers suffering. My knees felt weak. Every success, every breakthrough, every impossible moment suddenly looked different. You sacrificed your family for me? I asked, my voice breaking. She smiled sadly. He gave you one chance, she said. But when your company grew, I made another sacrifice you never knew about. Fear crawled through me again. What sacrifice? She hesitated. Her hands tightened around the coffee cup. Then she slowly pulled something from her bag. A faded document. At the top, my name was written beside hers. And beneath it, a signature dated years ago, from a hospital room. I never knew she entered alone. I stared at it, confused. Then she whispered something that made my entire world shake. I gave up something so you could keep living, she whispered. My heartbeat turned heavy. The ocean suddenly sounded distant. The paper shook in my hands. I looked closer. Hospital records, medical signatures, dates from years ago. Years when I worked endlessly, chasing success, blind to everything around me. Sophia wiped her tears slowly. You remember when you collapsed? During your 3rd year in business? She asked softly. Of course I remembered. Doctors said stress nearly destroyed me. They called it exhaustion. I almost died. But something felt strange afterward. My recovery happened too quickly. Too perfectly. I looked back at the document. Then my stomach dropped. No! She lowered her eyes. The doctors found a match, she whispered. I stopped breathing. You needed emergency surgery. A donor. The cold wind touched my face, but my body felt numb. No, I repeated. No, Sophia. She nodded gently. I signed the papers alone. Tears blurred my vision. You gave me, she smiled weakly, a piece of my body, she said softly, so your dream could stay alive. Pain rushed through me, like thunder. I remembered the months after surgery, her tired smile, the way she held her side sometimes, how she said she was only exhausted. I never questioned it. I was too busy building meetings, profits, expansion plans, too busy becoming rich. And suddenly, I hated the man I used to be. I dropped to my knees in the sand. The salty air burned my chest. You suffered alone, I said, crying. All these years. She knelt beside me. Her hand touched my face with the same tenderness she had shown me when I was poor. You were never my burden, she whispered. You were my belief. That sentence shattered something inside me. A billionaire. Yet I had never understood the true cost of love. Money builds houses, but sacrifice builds souls. Then Sophia reached into her coat again. There is something else, she said quietly. Fear returned instantly. Her voice trembled. The doctor called this morning. The report. She looked down, struggling to speak. Then she finally whispered words that made my heart stop beating. They might have been wrong about me. They might have been wrong about me. I stared at her. The crashing waves faded. Everything faded. Only her trembling voice remained. "What do you mean?" I asked quietly. Sophia looked down, holding the medical report against her chest, like something fragile. "The first doctor believed it was serious," she whispered. "But another specialist called today." Hope and fear collided inside me. Cold air burned my lungs. My hand shook. "Tell me," I said softly. Her lips trembled. "They think it may be treatable." For a second, I forgot how to breathe. The ocean wind touched my face, but warmth rushed through my chest. Relief, pain, gratitude, all at once. I closed my eyes. For months, I had feared losing the woman who carried my broken dreams when I had nothing. And suddenly, life handed me another chance. But Sophia was not smiling. Something still felt wrong. "What is it?" I asked carefully. She hesitated. "The treatment is long," she said quietly, "and expensive." I almost laughed through tears. "Expensive?" I whispered. "Sophia, I can buy hospitals." She shook her head gently. "That is not what scares me." Her words stopped me. "What scares me," she continued, "is watching you lose yourself again." Silence wrapped around us. The same silence that once surrounded me. Inside cold apartments, filled with unpaid bills. "You spent years chasing money," she said softly. "You forgot peace. You forgot rest. Sometimes, you forgot us." Her honesty hurt, because it was true. I had climbed mountains of success, while leaving pieces of my soul behind. That evening, I made a decision that shocked the business world. I stepped away from daily control of my billion-dollar empire. News channels exploded. People called me foolish. Investors panicked. But for the first time, I stopped running. I cooked dinner with Sophia, burned pancakes, laughed until tears came, walked near the sea at sunrise. And slowly, I remembered the man who once believed success meant kindness, not power. Weeks later, during one hospital visit, a nurse rushed toward us. Her face looked pale. "Mr. Carter," she said quickly, "there is someone here asking for you." I turned. Then my entire body froze. Standing near the hallway window was the business partner who betrayed me, holding a folder in his hand and tears in his eyes. He stood there, like a shadow from my past. The same man who once stole millions from me. The same face I had erased from my life. Yet now, he looked broken, tired, empty. His hand shook as he held the folder forward. "I did not come to beg," he said quietly. His voice cracked. "I came to fix what I destroyed." Sophia held my hand tightly. I could feel her fear, but also her strength. I stepped forward slowly. "Why now?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "Because I found the truth." He opened the folder. Documents spilled out. Bank records, emails, hidden transfers. My breath stopped. Someone else had planned it all. My betrayal was not random. It was engineered. A larger company, a competitor I trusted at conferences. They used him as a tool to break me. My hands tightened into fists. All this pain, all these sleepless nights, for a trap. Sophia stepped closer to me. "Do not let anger take you again," she whispered. Her words grounded me instantly. I looked at the man I once hated. He was crying. "I lost everything too," he said. "My family, my respect, my life." Silence filled the hospital hallway. Only the sound of distant footsteps and soft machines remained. I felt something strange inside me. Not revenge, not hatred, but understanding. You did wrong, I said slowly. But someone used your weakness. He nodded, unable to speak. Sophia squeezed my hand again. People can fall, she said softly, but they can also rise. That moment changed something in me again. I looked at the man who betrayed me and saw not an enemy, but another broken human who lost his way. I turned to the folder again. This changes everything, I whispered. Outside the window, rain started falling again, like the beginning of something new, like the end of an old storm. And then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered slowly. A deep voice spoke on the other side. We know you have the files now. My body went still. Sophia noticed my expression immediately. The voice continued. We are watching you. The call ended. I stood frozen in the hospital light as Sophia whispered one question. That made my heart drop. I stood still. As the call ended, the silence afterward felt heavier than any storm. Sophia did not let go of my hand. That simple touch brought me back to myself. Not the billionaire, not the businessman, just a man who had almost forgotten how fragile life is. I looked at the man who once betrayed me, then at Sophia, then at the files in my hand, and for the first time, I understood something deeper than success. Power is not in money, I said slowly. It is in awareness. The man lowered his head in shame. I will help you expose them, he whispered. I nodded. Not because I trusted him completely, but because I chose to break the cycle of hate that once controlled me. Weeks passed. We worked quietly, carefully, patiently, not with revenge, but with truth. The hidden network behind my downfall was finally exposed. Names were revealed. Deals collapsed. Justice moved slowly, but it moved. And through it all, Sophia never left my side. Her strength was not loud. It was steady, like breathing, like hope. Her treatment began. Hard days followed, but she smiled even in pain. One evening, she looked at me and said softly, You see, positive thinking is not pretending life is easy. It is believing you can still walk, even when it is not. Tears filled my eyes. For the first time in years, I was not chasing success. I was living it, not in buildings or billions, but in moments, in love, in truth, in forgiveness. Months later, standing by the same ocean, I realized something final. I was not saved by wealth. I was saved by a woman who believed in light when I lived in darkness. And I finally understood the hidden power she always spoke of. Positive thinking is not the power to change the world instantly, but the power to never stop becoming better, even after everything breaks. And in that moment, I knew the story was never about becoming a billionaire. It was about becoming human again.